Hello, my name is Ryan, and I'm an up-and-coming engineer. Today, I'd like to share my experiences redesigning and manufacturing a common day key holder. Like many people, I carry on my keys on a ring in my pocket, just like this. This does help me avoid losing my keys. However, I do get frustrated whenever I need to add or remove them. To fix this, I designed a Swiss Army knife style key holder. Two plates are held together with 3 threaded spacers and 6 bolts. To add and remove keys, all I need to do is remove 2 of the bolts and pivot one plate about the center. From there, I can add or remove whatever keys I need. Now that you know the plan, let's get into it. To start with, I molded some clay into a shape that I wanted for the side plates. Clay holds its shape well and hardens when cured. This means that I could use a clay model for vacuum forming later. I found that using a cup made much smoother surfaces than with my hands. After I molded several different shapes from the clay, it was time to pop them in the oven to cure. I used several different shapes for the side plates, as I knew screw-ups were a possibility, and I didn't know what shape I liked best. And in no time at all, the clay was ready. After taking the clay from the oven, I touched up the sides and holes of the clay models, as the mold later on will take on the surface finish of this model. This included both carving of the parts and sanding of the faces. To later make these pieces out of resin, I needed a way to make a mold from these blanks. I decided that vacuum forming was a simple solution that fit my needs. Using a sheet of ABS and a vacuum former on campus, it took little time to make some molds for the clay blanks. To make the side plates, I used a 2-part resin with a 1:1 ratio. After mixing the equal parts together well, it was time to pour. The resin I chose is transparent, as I thought it would be interesting to be able to see the sides of the keys through them. However, any color, texture, or even objects could be used to change the appearance of the plates. The resin parts were quite difficult to remove from the vacuum form molds, but they did come out in time, off screen. To touch up the parts, I used a pair of scissors to remove the flashing while the mold was still soft enough to cut. To make the plates ready for assembly, holes and countersinks for the 6 bolts had to be added. This turned out to be quite simple with a handheld drill and 2 bits. I had to be careful not to cut too deep with the countersink bit, as that would ruin the part. I also had to do some small modifications to the keys, as they wouldn't fit over the threaded spacer as they were. This was also simple to handle with a handheld drill and some bits. Assembly took just a few moments, with the 6 bolts going into 3 threaded inserts with some washers in between, and the side plates I just finished molding. These fasteners were simple to pick up at my local hardware store and cost just a few dollars. I did have some unforeseen struggles assembling the key holder, as I was not expecting to need the washers. In future iterations, designing out the need for the washers would make the assembly easier, and the customer would have fewer components to worry about when adding or removing keys. Redesigning the keyring started with brainstorming ideas to make keys easier to add and remove. A couple good ideas came to mind, and I took these to a team of engineers to get input. The team was overall in agreement that a Swiss Army knife style key holder was the best of the designs. To design the product with DIY manufacturing in mind, I reduced the number of manufactured parts to just the side plates. As these 2 parts are relatively 2-dimensional, there's many ways I could make these parts. To add to the aesthetics, I decided to make a mold and use a clear resin. One way to make a mold that's quick and cheap is vacuum forming. All that's necessary in vacuum forming is a sheet of plastic, a vacuum former, and a copy of the part. After making this key holder, I can honestly say that I've learned a lot, and I would consider this project a huge success. Thank you all for joining me on my quick side project to improve the consumer product I use every day.